If you went into withdrawal when the hit show Downton Abbey on PBS's Masterpiece ended, your long wait is over.
Blimey.
The King and Queen are coming to Downton.
What?
That's a scene from Downton Abbey, the movie, now in theaters. The aristocratic Crawley family and their servants are preparing for the biggest social event of their lives, a visit from the King and Queen. I recently spoke with Downton Abbey creator and writer Julian Fellowes about getting the cast back together and whether there's even more Downton to come. Julian Fellowes, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you for asking me.
So just to start, I know what people all around me have felt like in returning to Downton and the characters they came to know so well. What's it like for you to revisit these characters?
Well, it sort of grew up on me, actually. I mean, I wasn't one of the ones who initially believed the film would happen. It seemed unlikely to me, rounding them all up. They'd all gone off to do these extraordinary things. And it was only gradually that I sort of started to think, oh, maybe it will happen. And all those, things on the internet that I don't understand, Twitter and Facebook and all that. And there was this sort of growing rumble wanting a film. So that by the time I started to think what we would actually put in the film, if there was going to be a film, I had kind of got used to the idea.
Well, it made me wonder, do these characters live with you? I mean, I, from time to time, will go back into my Downton world thinking, well, what's she doing or what's he doing now?
Well, I mean, life goes on whether or not it's fictional. And so I do think you sort of imagine them ploughing on through life. But I don't think I expected to see them doing it again on the screen. Yeah. So it came as rather a pleasant surprise. And it was fun, when we all reunited at Twickenham Studios for the read-through, this huge square table, and there were all the characters. I mean, I started writing it 11 years ago, and the cast came aboard 10 years ago. I mean, for a job in my industry, that's absolutely extraordinary.
Well, at what point did the actors' personalities, both in terms of character, but their own, kind of meld as you were writing the characters and as they developed over the years of the show?
Well, they had to develop because we're all so much older than when we began. I mean, in the show we've covered 15 years, but in real life we've covered 10, so there's hardly any difference.
How's it all going?
Mary's got it under control.
Hardly.
All of that is very good fun, actually, when you're doing it, and particularly if the actor is enjoying it as well. You do sort of write for their strengths. You write scenes that you know they will do well. I think everyone does that.
Everyone marvels at Violet's one-liners. Did you have a particular process in writing her character?
Will you have enough cliches to get you through the visit?
If not, I'll come to you.
Oh, here we go.
No, I hope that I am sent a few one-liners when I'm writing a script. And I sit at the traffic lights and I suddenly get one. Where I'm very foolish is I don't write them down, so I just have to hope it's still there when I arrive home, and sometimes it isn't.
Well, what is your process for writing? How did you write this show?
Well, I get up from breakfast, I go and sit in front of this sort of unyielding computer, and I try and type in the show. I mean, I think if you want to be a writer, the main thing you have to do is write. I think the mistake that some people make is that they're waiting for a moment when they long to write, when they're in the mood, when it's happening within them, when their chest is hot, when the whole thing's happening. I don't think you can wait for that, so I think you'd wait forever. You have to sit down at 9:30 or whatever it is and just do your best and try and finish when you know what the next bit is. So at least the following morning it'll get you started. And then you finally, when you're ready, in my case, I show it to my wife, and she scribbles all over it and says, this bit is very boring, and why would I know she's his sister? You haven't told me, and all that.
How did you arrive at, because I know that you've always been very mindful of history and how true this family's story might be, but how did you arrive at a royal visit?
Your Majesties, welcome to Downton Abbey.
Alistair Bruce, our advisor, and I had toyed with the idea a bit, but we didn't feel we could do it justice on television for various reasons. And then I sort of forgot about it, but I was trying to find an event that would put everyone on their toes and excite everyone. Even if they hated it, they would still be angry and excited as opposed to happy and excited. But I wanted it to be something positive. I didn't want it to be, you know, Downton in Flames or something. And I was reading a book about the tour of Yorkshire that King George and Queen Mary made in 1912. And as I read it, I thought, well, this is exactly what we need. So now they make a tour of Yorkshire in 1927.
A royal luncheon, a parade, and a dinner. I'm going to have to sit down.
We find the family now at a kind of a critical juncture, where as we see the family addressing cost and what the future might be, where do we find England and this family at this time where we don't know if the house can go on?
Well, I mean, it was a period after the First World War. I mean, remember that the agricultural depression had gone right through the 1880s, so a lot of these houses were in trouble when the war came. Everything was changing. I felt it wasn't believable that Mary would go on with this business because it is increasingly clear that she is taking the reins. If she hadn't asked herself, do I want to do this? I mean, it is a life of bondage, you know.
Should we really go on with it?
You mean leave Downton? Downton Abbey's the heart of this community, and you're keeping it beating.
Sorry, I have to, like everyone else, ask, given the popularity, could there be another film?
You're not the first to ask that.
I'm shocked.
Not the first. But, I mean, I never say never anymore. I've learned better than that. But I'm not averse to it, but it must really depend on the reception that the film receives. And so we'll have to wait and see.
And finally, here we are. We're sitting in this Downton Abbey exhibition. You know what the fandom for this show is like. Do you ever stop to think about this world that you've created that so many people are invested in?
I think there are moments when it feels quite surreal that it all started with you sitting in your study trying to bang out the pilot script, you know, and here we are 10 years later and it's a kind of worldwide phenomenon. You know, life is strange. All our lives are strange on one level or another. And we're all being shown things we didn't expect, good and bad. And so I suppose you just have to take it in your stride, really.
Well, this is a good one to take, I think. Julian Fellowes, thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you.